Are you worried you're getting fat during quarantine? I'm going to show you how to lose weight and keep it off for good. Watch until the end of the video because I'll share the real secret to stop yo-yo dieting and lose weight for good. I'm Dr. Ram, physician, bodybuilder, and founder and head coach at Ram Wellness, where we help busy professionals like you upgrade how you feel, look, and perform for life. Hit that subscribe button for more workout tutorials, nutrition tips, and success mindset hacks. But hey, you're here to find out how to lose weight and keep it off for good. So let's get started. I want to start out by telling you that I myself have struggled most of my life with weight gain and yo-yo dieting. This is the typical sequence. I gain a bunch of weight, then usually when it's gotten really out of hand, I do something about it. I get my eating and exercising right and gradually get into shape. Then the novelty of being in shape wears off or becomes unsustainable to a certain extent, and I slowly start to relax my habits. Before I know it, I've gained all the weight back. If this resonates with you, hit the like button below. Each time I go through this cycle, I gain back slightly more weight than the last time. Over the next 12 months, I'm going to be sharing my personal journey as I attempt to break free from this weight gain, weight loss cycle in a revolutionary way. Many of you may have or may be currently struggling with a similar issue. If that describes you or someone you know, you've come to the right place. In this video, I will literally give you every single scientifically proven tactic to lose weight and get into the best shape of your life. I guarantee that if you apply these tactics consistently over time, not only will you lose weight, but you will chisel a body for yourself like never before. What I cannot guarantee you is that you will keep results by only using those tactics. This video explores why that is for most people, like me, and offers you a path less traveled for those of you who are seeking results that will last forever. Let's begin. By now, everyone knows that the key to losing weight is being in a caloric deficit over a period of time. This is no secret. The usual prescription, eat less, move more, makes sense intuitively. The mathematical equation of energy balance that deals with energy in versus energy out can be computed by a 5th grader. There's no issue with this. When energy expended by your body becomes greater than energy consumed in food, we call this a negative energy balance or a caloric deficit. Caloric deficit explains why we lose weight, but it doesn't tell us enough about how to go about it. We want to know how much energy in and how much energy out. Of course, the greater the caloric deficit, that is, the more you burn and the less you consume combined, the greater the rate of weight loss. Want to lose weight faster? Increase your caloric deficit. Want to lose weight more slowly? Decrease your caloric deficit. Up until now, I've told you nothing new. From here, you'll naturally want to know what to eat, because if there were special foods that could speed up this process and make it as pleasant as possible, of course, why shouldn't you be eating those, right? So I will tell you to eat more whole foods since they're more nutritious and will help keep you full for longer. I can estimate how many calories you should eat in a day to promote a certain rate of weight loss based on a number of factors like your age, gender, body fat, and activity levels. I can even tell you how much protein, carbs, and fats to eat in a day, which allow you to eat exactly the amounts you should be eating, nothing more, nothing less. Simply plug in your information into the calculator in the description below, and these numbers will be generated for you instantly. Then you will want to know about exercise. As with your nutrition, you'll want to know how much and what kind. I'll give you a workout plan based on your experience levels and goals, which will be to gain muscle and strength and reduce body fat. Why should you gain muscle and strength? Because you want to look healthy and strong, and you also want to have some level of real muscular strength, whether it's for daily activity and or to show your friends and family how strong you are. There's no debate so far. At this point, you know exactly how much and what kind of nutrition and exercise will help you achieve your goals. You'll follow this plan over a period of time, of course with adjustments as your body adapts to the demands that have been placed on it. Once you're at least 50% consistent with your plan, you'll achieve the results you want. The time in which it takes you to achieve your goals will mainly depend on how adherent you are and how much weight you have to lose. All of this information is concisely provided in a free cheat sheet that I've made. I've included it in the description below. None of this information is foreign to most of us these days. So the issue then isn't how to lose weight, the issue is how to keep it off. Do we have to diet and exercise forever in order to stay in shape then? This is where mainstream logic and approaches fail most of us. By that logic, we simply need to be disciplined. If we gain weight, it's because we're lazy. The few of us who keep the weight off after 3 years, which is less than 10%, will say it's because we're determined and we value our health and how we look. That may be the case. While discipline seems to be working for those few, it doesn't seem to be the case for the rest of us. So, what are we to do? Those of us who lack this discipline gene, or just haven't turned it on. There are very few of us who are absolutely disciplined or absolutely lazy. That is, we tend to be disciplined in certain areas of our lives and less so in others. Some of us have fantastic bodies and we stay in shape year-round, but our relationships are a mess or we're financially unstable. Some of us are financially stable and our relationships are fine, but we struggle with weight gain. Any number of combinations are possible, but very few of us have found balance in all areas of our lives. What we're overlooking is the big picture, which is the only picture in which this balance can occur. That is the picture of happiness. Can you truly be happy if any of these areas of your life are suffering, whether it's your health, your relationships, or your finances? So why are we successful in certain areas of our lives and unsuccessful in others? To the point of this video, why are we unsuccessful with staying healthy and staying physically in shape? Why have we gained weight and continue to gain weight during this quarantine? The answer to this, I partly arrived at on my own, but that understanding was incomplete. I'll explain what I mean. When I reflected on my weight loss, weight gain cycle, I was able to detect an association between my mental well-being and my physical well-being. Whenever my mental well-being was suffering, I was usually in a weight gain pattern. Not because the weight gain caused the mental suffering, although it did compound it. Rather, it was the mental suffering that led me to self-medicate with food, and that self-medication led to weight gain. When the mental suffering compounded by the weight gain had become intolerable, my survival instincts would kick in to drive me back to a healthier set point, kind of like a thermostat. Once I lost the weight and took care of my mental health, the thermostat would go on standby. Not before long, the cycle would repeat itself, whereby some event or series of events in my life would drive my mental suffering and weight gain back up to the point at which the thermostat would be triggered, and my survival mechanism would kick back in once again. Surely this is a haphazard way to live life and to address any type of suffering. While I could see this association between my mental health and my physical health, whereas one suffered, the other would go along for the ride, I didn't have the tools to actually do something about it. Just weight loss tactics. Does there always have to be a weight loss or weight maintenance prescription in place in order for me to maintain a healthy weight? Awareness of a problem is a first step, but I didn't know how to take the next step from there to actually do anything about it. Simply hopping back on a diet and exercise plan was just a band-aid that kept falling off after some time. Putting a band-aid over a wound that I unconsciously kept reopening over and over again is sheer madness. In other words, it wasn't that I had a defective nutrition plan, exercise plan, or that I was unaware of the problem. In fact, I had the best science-based tactics for losing weight and looking amazing, and they were always extremely successful, even if that success was short-lived. I recognized that I was an emotional eater, and food was simply a form of self-medication. The question really is, why the constant need for self-medication? Was my life really so intolerable that I had no choice but to eat myself to death? Before I provide my personal discovery and approach that I'm using to keep the weight off for good, I want to put a disclaimer. At this point of the video, if you're still watching, one of three things will happen. One, you'll dismiss what I'm about to suggest and write me off as a lunatic for good. Two, you'll initially dismiss me as a lunatic, but you'll eventually come to recognize how my truth parallels your own. And three, my personal discovery and approach will resonate deeply within you, and you'll put them to use and reap lifelong benefits. I won't judge you regardless of which group you're in. You're free to do as you please and choose your own path. Regardless of what group you're in, if you're still here and listening, give the information I'm about to share with you some consideration, even if you throw it out afterwards. As I said before, my understanding of my dilemma was incomplete. While I understood the association between my mental health as a driver of my physical health when I gained weight, while I had that insight, I lacked the tools necessary to do something meaningful and lasting about it. Until I learned about the reality of doing things consciously versus unconsciously. How do you tell the difference? No matter how hard I tried to stop myself from emotional eating, I couldn't. Some would say I lack discipline, and they would be right. But discipline is a short-term solution that stems from a shallow understanding of who we are as human beings. Our minds, by habit, are emotional entities first and logical entities second. 10 times out of 10, emotions win in the end. The more you try to control an emotion, the more it consumes you. When you're angry at someone, try not to be angry. The more you try not to be angry, the angrier you become. Discipline means that despite your emotions, you make a logical choice. This cannot and does not last forever. Whether it's the next day or 10 years later, discipline as an emotional override button is bound to malfunction. So if not discipline, then what? Well, some of us may have heard about being more conscious of our eating habits, being more aware of our hunger cues, fullness cues, and each bite. But in reality, this has no practical value for most of us. Not because it doesn't work, but because we simply have no frame of reference. What does conscious eating actually feel like? While we're eating, we're on our phones, watching TV, driving, or doing all four at the same time. Do we even know how to do anything consciously? While I can't speak for you, I can speak for myself. I had no real practice with doing most things consciously, unless I was in the middle of a panic attack that then required me to focus completely on my breathing in order to break out of it. Is this not problematic? For me, it is. For the things that really count and are meaningful in life, I don't perform them consciously, let alone for all the rest of the functions I perform in my life. What I mean by consciously is turning my full attention to the present. Eating consciously addresses hunger and satiety cues, which addresses the overeating issue in part. If you pay closer attention to when you're actually hungry and full, there's less of a chance that you'll overeat. Most of us aren't overweight because we binge on whole foods. I tend to overeat sweets. Let me be clear that sweets or any other food is not the problem. The problem arises when we compulsively and consistently overeat. This leads to two problems. First, creating a large caloric surplus, the opposite of what we want. And second, it creates an even greater problem, which is habitual or compulsive overeating. Emotional eating is a type of self-medication. The question is, why am I constantly in need of medication? What am I treating? Well, the obvious answer for me is stress and at times low mood. Food acts as a medication for me, as it does for many of us, because when it's consumed, it provides a momentary release and a momentary relief from our unhappy brain chemistry. And then I stumbled upon a truly unique individual on YouTube who made the answer quite clear and apparent to me. If I wasn't so wound up, would I need to self-medicate? The obvious answer is no. The obvious next question then is, how can I remain unwound? If I am unwound, I wouldn't feel the need to self-medicate. The answer that he provided is not one that can be intuited. It must be experienced. And that answer is not just eating consciously, but living consciously. By living consciously, you're able to respond instead of react. By living consciously, you remain unwound. In the few short days of experimenting with his approaches, I found that I don't even think about food. I go for long stretches of time, if not in a happier, a more peaceful state. This has directly led me to eating significantly less throughout the day. And when I do, it's expressly for fuel and to enjoy the food, not to self-medicate. I'm finding myself less wound up, if at all, which means I haven't felt the need to self-medicate. The trigger or root cause itself for self-medicating is diminishing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a psychic to see that if I were to continue in this manner, that weight loss and maintaining healthy weight would become inevitable. In other words, the need to self-medicate is an inevitability of being wound up. Maintaining a healthy weight is an inevitability of remaining unwound through conscious living. Not just when I'm hungry or when I'm eating, but throughout the entire day. This approach, not just to eating but to life, has already had profound effects on my mood and energy, which is directly translated into better eating habits. How long will it last? I'll be documenting this journey so you'll see for yourself. Furthermore, you may come to realize that seeing it for yourself is not enough. You must also experience it for yourself in order to see any benefits in your own life. So how do you lose weight and keep it off for good? Being happy by living consciously in every moment. This may seem impossible right now, but it's not. it's completely possible and within everyone's ability. It just requires practice. We're simply out of practice. If you want to learn more about living consciously in every moment, click on the link in the description below. This approach may not be for everyone, but it's made for everyone, and everyone has the inherent capacity and ability to apply to their lives however they choose. Modern science and medicine have unconsciously begun to introduce versions of this through notions of practicing self-awareness and eating consciously, but have not provided us with the tools and understanding to experience it for ourselves. This is also a dimension that is not accessible to modern science. It is only a state of being that you can access through your own journey and practice. To do this, you must take a path less traveled. The only other two options are yo-yo dieting and discipline. Choose whichever one works best for you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to lose weight and keep it off for good. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below for more videos like this. Remember, always aim for exceptional. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.